Which one is better, working for agencies or direct clients? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. So when you are just starting out as a freelance translator, or even as a freelancer in general for certain professions, one of your main concerns will probably be, how do I find clients and what kind of clients can I find? So there are mainly two types of clients you can have. One is agency clients and one is direct clients. Translation agencies is what we call intermediaries that work as kind of a middleman between freelance translators and end clients. So the benefit of working with translation agencies is that they usually have the means to deal with quite large end clients that you as a single freelancer could never serve sufficiently individually. And also that they have quite a large reach if they are well established. The way it works is that agencies usually get a job from an end client and then they prepare everything, they negotiate, they make the deal happen, and then they distribute the actual linguistic work to freelancers. Usually it works like this, that the translation goes to one translator and the proofreading goes to another. So they have kind of a four-eye principle in place, which makes the whole process a lot easier for freelancers and because you don't have to deal with administrative stuff. Direct clients, on the other hand, is what we call a business from a company outside of the language service provider industry. So this can be, for example, a bank, an association, a normal small private company, and you serve them directly as a freelancer, so there is no middleman. Whether you should work with translation agencies or direct clients is actually a big question in the localization world, because for some people it's really clear-cut that direct clients are kind of the holy grail. This is maybe you start with an agency, but your way where you want to go is to direct clients, right? And then there are other people who say, no, I actually enjoy working with agencies because it's much more efficient and I can spend my time actually with work that is paid. So there are these people who really swear by working with translation agencies. The chances are when you're just starting out that you will most likely work with translation agencies first. Well, my first client was actually a direct client, and I didn't really realize this in the beginning, but I think this was kind of an exception, if I'm honest. I did previously work in an agency as a project manager, so I was aware that I wasn't expecting to have direct clients from then on out. You know, I was aware that this is an exception, and probably my next clients will be agencies, which was also the case. Now, why do I say you will most likely start off with working for agencies? I simply say that because they are much more easily accessible. You know, it's much easier to get a translation job from an agency than a direct client, especially with zero experience or very little experience that you will have when you're starting off, right? Plus, they are much less hassle for you, so you don't need to negotiate, you don't need to find the clients per se, you just need to find the agency and they will provide you with jobs, right? When you're starting off, you will most likely find yourself on pages like pros.com, Translator Cafe, even maybe Freelancer and Upwork. And the clients that you find on these pages are almost exclusively translation agencies. By the way, be careful because there are a lot of scammers out there on these pages. So before you work for a translation agency, especially when it's a large job and they say they will pay you on invoice after the job is done, be careful. I always advise people, the first job you do for a new client, ask at least 50% prepayment before you start. And if that's not the case, then you really have to just think for yourself, is it worth it? When it's a really big job, I wouldn't recommend to do it on invoice. A good resource is the blueboard on pros.com. I'm gonna put a little picture here so you can see what it looks like. Almost every established agency in the world is on there and has some kind of rating based on freelancers giving them ratings. So if you have a pros account, it's also very useful for your colleagues if you rate agencies you work with. So just search them up, give them a rating if it's good or bad. And if someone has, let's say, a 4 or higher on there, you can be almost sure that they are reliable and that it's safe to work with them. Now, working for an agency has a price. It comes with a price because the rates you can charge for work with agencies are usually lower. Some can really be quite low. So you really have to find these boutique agencies that value your work, that pay you accordingly. And that's not easy to do. So the big names in the industry, sorry to say, but they won't pay you enough. So try to go for names that are maybe not very known worldwide. Maybe find a niche agency, find an agency from your native country or in your domain. These are usually better paying because they value your work more. So why would you ever work for an agency if you can charge less than for a direct client, right? It's a good question. Well, good question, but also a very simple answer. Direct clients are a lot of work, much more hassle. Because think about it, you have to find the client, right? You have to do research on who could it be. Then you have to find someone in the company that you can talk to about language services. No one really cares usually about that. Then you have to negotiate, you have to present your services, maybe have an in-house meeting with them, or be on the phone at least 2-3 times until you land a deal, right? You have to organize your own proofreader, because there won't be an agency dealing with the other side of the job, right? You have to do both. You have to really account all your costs into your price. And you can't really talk to them about word prices. That's actually a good tip. Don't talk to direct clients about, translation memories and word prices and everything you would talk to with an agency, because it's not their world, right? They just want their contract to be translated, for example. They don't mind what the cost comprises of. They just want a price plus VAT. That's what it's going to cost, right? And also a good point, think about liability, right? If something goes wrong and you work for a direct client, you're probably fully responsible. And if you don't want to be, you have to start with a contract before you start working and really shift all liabilities to the direct clients and away from you. If you don't do that, you're liable. And if you work with an agency, there's usually the middleman that's more liable than you. It will still come back to you, and you will probably lose the collaboration if something goes wrong, but legally, I think you're much safer. So yes, of course you can charge more per word or more in general for the workflow, but you're also much less productive working for direct clients. Because think about it, when you work for agencies, pretty much 90%, once you establish the workflow that works, 90% of all your work that you do for this client is paid. There's only maybe the occasional email, the phone call that sometimes happens, and some maybe saving of documents and formatting that's not paid, but almost everything else is paid. For working for direct clients, it's not a 90-10 split, I can guarantee. It's maybe, if you're lucky, it's a 60-40 split of things that are paid, but you get more money. So having said that, what do I actually prefer? Me personally, I enjoy to have a good mix of both. So my ideal situation, which I actually have now, is an 80-20 split. So I like to work with 80% translation agencies, or at least some kind of language service provider. It's not always a translation agency, it can also be a marketing agency, right, or just a supply chain manager. 80% of these and 20% direct clients. With this split, for me it works. I figured out over the years that it works perfectly. I have a very productive workflow that I can really get my revenue where it should be by just providing efficient work, working constantly every day, while also have 20% of direct clients, which gives me this business, real life business experience, when you really have to dress up and go to the client and actually negotiate. And it's a very different feeling from being a freelancer. For an agency, it's more like one feels like real business and one feels like someone feeding you work and you just send it back like more of a service. The other feels more of a business transaction. So that's it. I hope this shed some light on this subject for you. If you have more tips, I would love to know what you think about the subject. So let me know down in the comments what your perfect split would be between agencies and direct clients. And what's your first experience with either of them? I'm also planning to do a Q&A video soon, so if you have any questions relating freelancing or freelance translations, also write them in the comments. And the last point I like to make in these videos every time, if you want to become a translator, you have to practice. And the best way to do that is by translating these videos. A lot of people have actually done it now since I started saying this, and it's really cool to see what you come up with. I'm very happy that people are actively translating my videos. It's a very cool feeling. It gives kind of a community. So if you want to do that, just click Add Subtitles. If you are on, I always say in the down right, but actually if you watch it on mobile, which a lot of people do, I've seen in the analytics, I think it's the top right. Anyway, just add subtitles wherever you can and translate it in the language you speak, and it will come to me. You can click that you would like to be featured as a translator, and I will of course add your name in the description. Let me know if you do that. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. It was more kind of a niche topic. Yeah, consider to subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.